Welcome back. In this tutorial, Layers Part 3, I'm going to talk about a couple more things that I didn't talk in the previous tutorials and to show you something a little bit different. This is not in the practice files, so just go ahead and watch with me and you can use your own pictures at your leisure. I named the layers top, middle, and bottom, and let's look at the three layers. So here's the top, here's the middle, and here's the bottom. And we're going to combine all three of them together. Well, I had this picture of this nice trees, and it kind of looked a little spooky to me. And I said, "Oh, that looks nice." And I remember in the back of my mind that I had a picture of a museum that I took of this. And I said, "Well, it'd be nice if I can combine those two together." So how would I do that? I can use masking. So what you do is you select the middle um, layer, then you would add a mask, and then you would paint with black to conceal this sky, right? So we select the brush tool, and then I would just paint over it. And as you can see, I'm concealing the sky as shown here in the mask, and I know that my mask is selected because there's a border around it. I could increase the brush size and really get in here and take some part. You can see that the edge is a little bit hard because I selected a hard edge brush. As you get closer to the edge, you'll probably want to use a soft edge brush. But as you can see, is when I get closer to the edge and I reduce my brush size by selecting the left bracket key, I might mess up and hit some of this part, which can drive me crazy, and then I have to go back and redo and then fix or use refined edge, and I'd rather not go through all that mess. So there's a quick way of doing it. On the mask, we can either delete the mask or we can just fill it back with white, which will reveal the sky that we just hid. So in order to do that, you can do it two ways. If you look, whatever's your foreground color and you press the Alt and backspace, we'll fill it with that. Whatever the background color, if you press Control and the backspace, we'll fill it with that. Well, I know my background is white and I want to fill it with white, so I could press Control, backspace, and fill it with white. If you don't want to do that, I believe you can go to Edit, Fill Layer with the background color, and then click OK, and bam, there's my sky back. Okay, so there is another way of doing it. Now, I'm going to use a tool that I haven't talked about, but it makes more sense. The polygon tool is great for straight edges. And if you can see here, this museum has a lot of straight edges. So I would rather use the polygon tool. And basically what it does is you just click, select, click, and we're just going to do this fast. I'm not going to be really concise on it. But you can see it's a lot easier to outline this museum than it is to paint the clouds away. And when I get to this point, then I go on the bottom here and go all the way around so I can make sure I select this museum here really good. And when I get close to the edge, it's going to change into a 0, which is hard to see. And that means the selection is complete. Then I'm going to invert my selection because I want to select the clouds. And I'm going to fill with black to conceal it. And how can I do that? I can press Alt, backspace, and bam, instantly I have the sky, the bottom picture is showing through. So let me press Control D or select, deselect. This should work. There we go. And there you have it. So now I have the museum. My sky is being concealed, which shows the bottom, the better looking sky with the trees. And I said, oh, that looks pretty nice, but let's add a little distress to the picture. So how can I do that? Well, this is where the top layer comes in. So what I do is I select the top, and when I turn on the visibility, it obstructs it completely. But if I change the blend mode to maybe multiply, look at that. Now we have a boring picture, and now it looks unique and has a little bit of distress. If you don't want all this unique looking grunge kind of distress look, you can use the paintbrush. Just select the brush tool here, add a mask, and make sure you're painting in black. And you can hide part of it in certain areas if you want. So maybe if you wanted these birds, for example, to be more focused, you could just paint, and depending on your opacity, I'd rather lower the opacity here. And then you could just paint around to where these birds will come into view better, and you can bring the focus a little bit more there. Or maybe increase the brush size, maybe lower it a little bit more. And by doing this, you see my mask over here, I'm painting in shades of gray, which is hiding the distress a little bit less than it would be in the sky, which I like. And of course, if you want, you can also darken the edges of your picture. The burn tool. When you select the burn tool, you can select mid-range, a low exposure, low exposure. I want to see my brush size here, so I happen to see here. And I'm going to darken the edges. I like to use a bigger brush. And if you go over slowly, it may not look like nothing's happening, but trust me, something is happening. And you can darken the edges. If you feel that your exposure is maybe a little bit too much, you can increase it. Oh, excuse me, this is another classic mistake. Make sure you're selecting the picture if you're going to do the dodging on it, or the burning on it, excuse me. Let me lower the exposure again. Shame on me. See, now, there we go. Now it looks a little bit better. And what this will do, this will bring you more into focus into the middle part. Okay, so there we have it. Nice, huh?